today I had the pleasure of listening to an awesome presentation given here by Dr. Simeon Hein. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the awesome presentation. I kind of want to touch base about all of this.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about ball lightning
Mm-hmm.
and how it connects to mutilations. And of course, the
Right.
Rocky Mountain Ranch, you know, in 1975 to 1975 or 78, the height of mutilations out there where Linda Moulton Howe got her start as an investigative journalist.
Right.
And you gave me food for thought today, things I really never thought about before. And so can you kind of go into the research you've done in the past, 3.5 years? You've been doing a deep dive on this.
Yeah, I came across this this YouTube channel called Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, dedicated to the cold fusion researchers Fleischmann and Pons, who were at the University of Utah in '89, remember?
Yeah.
And they released this information about cold fusion, and it created a lot of controversy and acrimony, right? Because a lot of the scientific community said, it can't be real, it can't be real, right? And it started this huge debate. And what we found out was that cold fusion, what we call cold fusion, it's now called low energy nuclear reaction, and it's more acceptable now. We know the Navy does research and a lot of government labs and DOE, you know, attempting to develop other sources of energy. Well, what they discovered is it's a type of micro ball lightning when they really looked at what was going on down there.
Oh, interesting.
And so what we found out was that micro ball lightning, atmospheric ball lightning, and lab created ball lightning are pretty much part of this family of phenomena that are called coherent matter. And it's much more prevalent, Katie, than we thought. Right. It's much more in our lives than we thought.
Yeah. And I asked you after your presentation today, could this be even what some of, you know, the Foo Fighters,
you did. It's a great question.
Yeah. And perhaps.
What
was fascinating to me, you mentioned too, that this kind of, you know, information or transparency around this kind of development and research is more open than overseas in other countries than it is here in the United States. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that might be?
Well, that is an excellent question. We could just do a whole lecture about that in and of itself. We had Nikola Tesla creating lab-created ball lightning right here in Colorado at his headquarters in Colorado Springs. We're not sure exactly how he did it. Some of it is still a little mysterious, but people said they saw it, and people have reproduced it on a small scale. And so, but after that, it went into these classified programs. The Department of Energy has its own classification system where they're allowed to classify and make exempt from FOIA anything to do with certain types of nuclear energy. We have Department of Defense having its own national security classification system, but other countries didn't have it that way. And that's how I found out about it, is these folks at the MFMP, Bob Greener and others, were going through these Russian research documents going back to the 50s. Here we had a guy named Winston Bostic doing this peaceful fusion energy project to create propulsion. He thought we could get to Mars in something like 8 days or something like that with this.
Who knows? Maybe we have it, right?
Maybe we have. Maybe we have, right. This sort of ball lightning powered propulsion system. And I showed some of the documents today where it's already redacted in the Air Force documents from these programs in the 50s and 60s. That's what we think they're.
So we know it's going on in the 70s for sure.
Yeah, it's just redacted here. It's going on 50s, 60s, 70s. Where this linked up to animal mutilations for me is I'm reading this Russian research, books from Russian researchers translated into English. And they're all mentioning harm and death to animals and people from ball lightning, and it's starting to get my attention.
And you even mentioned, I mean, this ball lightning can move items or explode barns and things like this.
They said it would transport animals and people.
Interesting.
You remember that case in the Skinwalker Ranch where the bulls end up in this shed? And we assume that some sort of evil entity out at Skinwalker Ranch. That might be a natural phenomena because ball lightning has this ability to move through solid objects.
Through glass and windows even.
Yes, it often has no charge. which means it won't have resistance from objects that have some slight charge, which is why we can sit in chairs and solid things as this is charge repulsion. Right. But ball lightning, it morphs into different levels of zero charge. It's charge neutral sometimes, which gives it the ability to move through solid objects.
That's fascinating.
And you wonder if it could actually, if you were in contact with it, would you be moving through the solid objects with it? We don't totally know what happened over 100 years ago because we don't have detailed descriptions. But the more research I did, Katie, the long and short of it is, there was a lot of information about people and animals interacting with ball lightning, being injured by ball lightning, being killed, and objects, heavy objects being moved by ball lightning. So what I realized was there's a lot of subject matter in our own fields of interest that are often called paranormal. That seem to be related to ball lightning. I'm not explaining them all the way that way, but there's some component to it that's related to this family of coherent matter. And you begin to wonder whether there are other life forms that know how to manipulate this state of matter that we don't know very much about, or if we do know about it, it's behind some sort of special access program. There's other life forms on Earth, cryptids, Bigfoot, UFOs, extraterrestrials, other dimensional beings that can get into that state of matter as a life form and kind of extract some of the benefits, teleportation, invisibility, cloaking, morphine. You've heard about some of these cryptids sometimes seem to be like a bush or a tree. You wonder how they do it.
That ties just really nicely into the interview I just did with Trey Hudson, talking about these strange boxes that, and even out in Rocky Mountain Ranch with Bill Wall, things seem to appear to go underground. And is that what they're using? They know how to manipulate and use that technology. And something I came across recently, we know that out there in Elbert County, we did have Camp Carson, soldiers from Camp Carson, NORAD, Air Force Academy. And so I came across some information about what they called plasma ball technology.
You did?
Piping out. It's in my presentation tomorrow, where they're piping out sounds.
I want to hear
so
this.
That electronic sounding voice that I heard when I was a 9-year-old, 10-year-old little girl, attention, that could be a plasma ball technology that perhaps they were experimenting with in the mid to late 70s. So all of this is just so fascinating to me that you've done a deep dive
coherent sound.
Coherent sound, and that it can affect animals and injure people, and does it give like radioactive kind of effects, like burns, rashes, those kind of things?
There's a lot of people that want to go out and see orbs, and I'm fascinated by them too. But some of them emit very dangerous radiation. Researchers who've worked with this acoustic cavitation to generate the microball lightning and other. Some of those people have gotten cancer. So this is something you really want to watch out for. They asked one of the Russian researchers. See them from a distance. I think they're safe from a distance, but if they get within a few feet of you, well, they can cause you to become temporarily magnetic. I don't know if that's something you want. They can vaporize your metal objects.
I saw that picture,
Rings, necklaces have just disappeared in an instant. And if it can do that to metal, what's it doing to your internal organs? Is it causing some of the carbon in your body to start spontaneously exhibiting beta decay, the way carbon can become radio?
You're scaring me a little bit.
Well, I'm just saying be a little cautious versus let's go out and get the orbs. I love this stuff too, but we have to be realistic about it. There's a dangerous side. One of the Russian researchers that was doing this cold fusion, someone asked him how he kept his lab safe. He goes, I go to another room.
That's good advice.
People have died from this. So let's be, even cold fusion, let's just do it, but let's be safe about it. This could be one reason why the government doesn't want us to know more about it, because there's a potential danger to it. It could be weaponized. It's a lot of energy.
It's
a lot of energy in a small amount of space. And it's, most you and I experience of that is like something like gasoline. That's the most energy dense substance, where this is like hundreds of times more energetic than that. So just to be careful with it.
Something that was reported in the APRA report from the Rocky Mountain Ranch, which is an aerial phenomenal research organization, they would bait the land out there with silver and turquoise, and activity would happen. And I don't know if it's anything to do with ball lightning, but what was interesting, in season 1 of Beyond Skinwalker, we're launching the first little small rocket. We're basically poking the hornet's nest to see if we get any responses or whatever. And I had this custom-made Celtic bracelet that was pure silver, out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, that I wore for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And that was the same night I got this potential radiation burn on my back shoulder, all that. But it just disappeared. And for the whole next season, I'm out there with a metal detector. I've been searching for this bracelet.
See what I'm talking about?
Huh?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So you saying that, I'm like, maybe that's what happened.
I'm not kidding. It's real.
It just vanished. And they would talk about this at the ranch. Like,
is this in Elbert County that you're doing the show? This is your show, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah. Elbert County. I
need to be watching your show.
Yeah.
I heard about this show. I haven't seen it. It's you out of Elbert County? And I've been missing it?
Yeah, you've been missing it.
Now I feel really bad.
No, I'll show you some clips tomorrow. You're okay.
Oh, I want to see this now. That's exactly what we're talking about. Is it interacts with metals? What's it?
Yeah, that's not in the show, but it's behind the scenes stuff.
No, it has been known to do that with metal objects, move things around. It literally dematerializes and rematerializes objects because it's operating at a whole nother level of energy that we're not used to. It's we're talking about very concentrated electromagnetic energy,
right,
in a kind of a vortex. We described it kind of like a fractal vortex. It goes down and down and down all the way to the quantum vacuum field. Okay. This is what David Freiberger from Stanford Linear Accelerator Center determined, and researchers in Russia. Freiberger called it catalyzed nucleonic decay.
Oh, wow.
It's literally taking particles, atomic particles, protons and neutrons, and shredding them. Do you realize how much we're talking about here? Yeah. Shredding matter and making them into other particles.
Okay. Is there any sounds associated with this type of?
Yeah, there's a whole realm of this phenomena that goes into sound. And I suspect this is what has to do with Bigfoot and cryptids that make these incredibly loud sounds that are directional.
Oh.
No, Katie, you've heard about these witnesses that said it was the loudest sound they ever heard.
Yes.
Like being at a rock concert next to the speakers or a locomotive, and they go 100 feet down to the campsite and go, "Did you hear that?"
And freight train went by, and
no one else. It was directed.
Okay.
And so it's sort of like a laser for sound.
Interesting.
I don't even know what you call such a thing. It's the equivalent of a laser with sound.
And that's my next question.
There's a whole realm of sound.
Yeah, that's my next question. If there's black access projects, and for decades now, looking into this ball lightning, and even at the ranch, we had Peter Van Arsdale, PhD, out there on the ranch, and he kind of came to the conclusion that they had what they call earthquake lights out there. Yeah. And I asked that question too: is that similar to the ball lightning?
Yeah,
yes, it is. It's all in that same world. But
earthquake lights, definitely.
What are the practical, other than weapons, perhaps? And if it's a directional weapon, and you're able to put in an energy beam towards, let's say, your enemy or whatever, is that similar? And I asked Trey the same question: is that similar to Havana syndrome, and would that give you the same type of?
We're talking about that family of phenomena.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't just have to be creepy military applications that are like directed sound beams and Havana syndrome and all of that. Right. We could be using this right now in very practical ways to generate cleaner combustion devices, devices that don't emit carbon dioxide. Even just the engines we already have, there's something called the thunderstorm generator from Malcolm Bendel. I just saw a demonstration of it in North Carolina at the Cosmic Summit. They brought some of these engines along. Basically, they've attached something called a Rank-Hilsch vortex tube to a combustion engine on the exhaust side. They recirculate it, and there are these plasmas in there because they're based on this sort of mathematical sacred geometry. They're using these mini ball lightnings. That's what we think. We're still.
And now, is that dangerous? Or like going down the highway, cars are going to explode?
No. No, it basically removes carbon from the exhaust.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And that would be great if we didn't have as many carbon monoxide deaths from generators.
Of course.
So the first application could be attaching these vortex tubes, kind of cool vortex tubes, recirculating the exhaust through the plasmas.
Okay.
In order to do this transmutation. It's sort of like this instantaneous transmutation. I think the work at SLAC at Stanford, funded by DOE, Freiberger, he calls it catalyzed nucleonic decay. In other words, alchemy.
Right. And I was going to say, people used to get killed for this kind of stuff, right? Because it's all about money and, energy.
Well, times have changed.
And I'm hoping, that's my next question. Do you think we're going to see a change in that? Or we're going to see some really positive practical applications? I think so.
We're talking about a decentralization of power.
Good. Okay.
None of the institutions we're around want to decentralize voluntarily. but history waits for no one.
Okay.
I was there in '89 working in Austria when East Germany started to collapse. And I was still working with East German scientists at this research institute called the IASA in Schloss Luxemburg, just south of Vienna. And they were telling me how great East Germany was. If you're good with the Communist Party, you got free child care, healthcare, all this. And we're talking about life in communist countries. Well, within a couple of months, their country had ceased to exist, and they didn't even see it happening that summer. That's how quickly things can change. So I encounter people like you do all the time. It's never going to change, but it does. Yeah. And we saw the collapse of communism pretty quickly. I'm just talking to social scientists. So I think any of these devices, if you had the right organization and you had the right structures behind it and companies and so forth, you could change things faster than anyone here would expect.
Yeah, that's kind of a hopeful message. I like that.
Could go in a good direction. How about less?
It doesn't always have to be bad.
Less exhaust. We don't have to get rid of combustion engines. I like my combustion engines when I'm out in the sticks in the woods. I like my generator. I don't want anyone taking my generator. But how about if they didn't pollute? And if they didn't have dangerous carbon dioxide? And if they were just emitting inert, harmless elements instead of, gases that could potentially heat the atmosphere, carbon gas. So I think there's a lot of applications. Let me tell you one more that's really exciting. Taking radioactive materials and making them inert within a couple days. So you don't have to store them anymore. Oh, wow. You don't have to deal with nuclear waste. You just submit it to these plasmas and they do their transmutation magic. As Freiberger tells us is possible with these electromagnetic vortex structures. I know some people, they hear this and they think it's some sort of new age stuff. This is coming out of DOA. This is not some new age organization. Katie, you and I have been around where they kept saying, we're going to have fusion technology in about 20 years. You ever heard that one? Yeah. It's just going to be about 2 decades from now. Clean, unlimited energy. I've been hearing this from the 70s. So this is like 50 years ago. And I still don't see anything. They have these headlines. Oh, they had it going for a trillionth of a second. And very exciting, trillionth of a second.
Is that the same thing as like the mercury drives and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, those are another type of class of devices. That gets into the touchy area of anti-gravity. Be careful with that one. That Air Force feels like that's their domain. So don't mess with their stuff. We're talking about flying cars. I've been reading that ever since I read Omni magazine when I was in high school in the 80s. Where's our flying cars? So I think there's
Back to the future, right?
I think there's a lot of potential benefits immediately with our current technology to make it cleaner, to make it safer, to reduce pollution. Just with what we've got using this plasma technology, if we develop it, and that's where I think it could be going.
And one last question. This is kind of a practical kind of question, and something I took out of your presentation today, which I thought, as an investigator researcher, I really like this, and kind of touches into Trey Hudson again at the Meadows Project. But you were saying that these effects from the phenomena of ball lightning, even though you can't see it, and you could be right next to it and you can capture it on certain equipment and not actually see it with the physical eye, but it can linger for up to 2 days even. Is that right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about this ball lightning is it can, this research in Russia showed it, and we've seen it here too. Long-lived plasmoids, as they call it.
Long-lived plasmoids.
You can unplug the device, take the device away, and that ball lightning will be living there above the table where you created it until you sweep it away with your hand or do something.
Really?
And it can, some reports said 2 days, some reports said 4 months.
Wow.
Ken Shoulders said it would bury itself in metals just waiting.
Really?
Now, that's really interesting. You have some sort of a concentrated electromagnetic vortex structure that's embedded itself in a metal, and it's just waiting to do something like short out your device. It's really wild. Something. But when you think about the cryptids and Bigfoot and
ghosts,
the way they just seem to sometimes show out of, it just reminds you of that a little bit. Like, I think where this is going is that there are already life forms on the planet that learn how to be invisible when they want to be. And they're not showing up until it's convenient for them when they feel like it. Then they're using this sort of phase shift that this matter exhibits so that they can kind of control when they're here and when they're not.
That's interesting.
And that's what some of these long-lived plasmoids, the research about that seems to suggest. My book, Dark Matter Monsters, is all about that idea. Is that it's new to us, and we're going,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
But then you got to think, is there really anything new in the universe?
Right.
And if there isn't, wouldn't there be creatures that are already using this that just think we're sort of some sort of less evolved life form?
Right.
And they show up and go, boo. And then they're just gone again. You wonder how they do that, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of
you're
applications.
Onto something here. I mean, I
yeah,
think
because you do see these orbs around these cryptids a lot, and there's a reason for that. And people say they've seen Bigfoot turn into orbs, or you wonder how is that possible. But if we're talking about the same family of matter, you would expect a life form to be around that too.
And Stan Gordon talks about that. His great book, he talks about the UFOs and the cryptids,
Silent Invasion.
Silent Invasion. Yeah,
great book.
Great book. So I think this is incredible work that you're doing in research, and it really is connecting a lot of dots for me and the Rocky Mountain Ranch. And I'm excited to learn more and work with you more.
I'm looking forward to visiting sometime.
Yeah, so I would love to have you out there and get your opinions on things, and maybe we can set up some tests and stuff. And see
That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
Great. Yeah.
See if we can find any traces of these sleeping things ready to go.
Yeah, you get an interferometer out there, and you'd start picking this up. It's happening at a quantum level, so you're not going to necessarily pick it up at the ordinary EM level. Even though when we used EM equipment in crop circles, we would get these fluctuations too. Static charges that seemed out of the ordinary, really high. But what we're talking about here is stuff that you would need some pretty good equipment to detect. I think if these creatures were around, they would create a little ripple that would be, in space-time that are detected with interferometers. Just like in Star Trek, they'd go out on a planet. That's real now. We would just have to have some of those.
And they're
around.
Only $10,000.
I know people that specialize in this, that have worked in the government developing this technology. And they've told me what to get to detect this.
All right, we're going to talk about that.
And we
later.
could do this. We might detect these things around. They may not be showing up, but you get a little ripple that they're around. That'd
and you
be
mentioned
cool.
that too. Okay, last.
Yeah.
But you did say that, even talking about with the animal mutilations, that there are. If it is a ball lightning effect, or in the crop circles too, perhaps, that they do leave traces of things we can see, little trail marks or footprints. Can you talk about what that is?
Well, yesterday when we were hearing the snippy introduction, and one of these slides came up, it said sharp cuts, exsanguination, strange tracks. And I think, well, that word strange tracks is all part of this ball lightning tradition. All the literature talks about strange tracks. The lab-produced micro ball lightning talks about strange tracks. And it's these little hopping motions that the ball lightnings make. They're spinning in a vortex. They're magnetically spinning. They're not literally spinning, but it's sort of an energy motion that creates a sort of a magnetic spin.
Interesting.
And it leaves these little marks that look like hopping or spiraling marks. And when they mentioned yesterday that there were strange tracks found around Snippy, I mean, Katie, I just couldn't help but thinking, is this what we're talking? Are these the same?
No, it's really
because
important.
isn't science about simplifying a little bit?
Yeah.
Isn't it saying it's really not all separate stuff? It's just sort of the same stuff on a continuum.
Yeah.
Maybe we're literally talking about the same strange tracks from cold fusion experiments and that are found around.
It's something to look for.
I think it's something to look for.
Recent mutilation, it gives us something else to look for, and that's important to move the ball forward. No pun intended. The ball.
We'll move the ball lightning forward,
and that's what you're doing. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and I love the research you're doing. I think it's
thanks. You too, Katie. It's reciprocal. I'm looking forward to working together.
All right. Where can we find more information about you and your work?
Well, I've written some books about these topics. They're all on their own websites. Openingminds.info about crop circles and remote viewing. My first book in 2002, which still seems relevant today. I don't think I changed your word. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
BlackSwanGhosts.com about all my conversations with ET UFO witnesses and the weird things they've seen. Lots of interesting people there.
Nice.
And my most recent one, Dark Matter Monsters. More like what we're talking about here is, are we talking about other types of matter, and are there life forms that have adapted to that? And that's darkmattermonsters.com. My blog for everything to go to is New Crystal Mind.
New Crystal Mind.
Yeah, and people can get signed copies of these there too.
Okay, check out his work. It's important.
I have a YouTube channel.
Okay, YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
Fractal Friend.
Fractal Friend.
Yeah, but you can just search for my name, and we put up videos about these topics all the time.
Fantastic. Check out his work. It's important, and I think it connects a lot of dots.
Well, thanks, Katie.
All right, thanks.